I mean, I think just in general, just to kind of get just a level set, like what what do you how do you define a psychic, like or a medium? Like what is in your words? How do you define that?
Okay, that question comes up a lot.
I'm sure.
Basically, a psychic reads the energy that's going on now.
Mhm.
Things, places, people. You can also hold objects. It's called psychometry, and you can pick up impressions. So you might hold on to like a watch that belonged to your grandfather. A
Okay.
medium uses that same kind of energy,
Mhm.
but they specifically try to connect with the spirit of somebody who's passed. So I would
Okay.
say it's like two different channels on the same radio.
Sure.
The
Okay.
process is very similar,
Yeah.
but mediumship definitely takes it up a level because I always say it's like the energy of a person who's crossed over.
Mhm.
It vibrates at a very, very high level. I say it's like if you look at a box fan, when the box fan is turned off, that's us. We're heavy, we're slow, we're solid.
Yeah.
The energy of somebody who's crossed, it's very, very high. It's like the box fan on. You can see you can't see the blades. They're there, but they're moving really quickly.
Interesting.
So the medium has to simultaneously raise their energy, and the person who's crossed over has to sort of lower theirs so he can connect. It's like one of those planes that fuels the plane in flight. You have to
Yes.
kind of
Yeah.
meet.
Yeah.
And the process of raising our energy is there's techniques and it's challenging, and some days are better than others.
I'm sure.
So
Interesting.
that's,
I love that metaphor. That's I've never heard it put that way. And forgive me
yeah,
for conflating psychics and mediums. I
it
didn't know the
happens
difference.
it happens all the time. And another way to put it is not all psychics are mediums,
Mhm.
but all mediums have to be psychic.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, sure, that makes sense, especially
Yeah.
in
You have to
mediumship.
be able to sort of blot out all the stuff going around and really focus your energy and sort of get out of the way. Both processes use that same idea.
Got it.
But like a medium, it's like turned up to 11. It's got to
Yeah.
be very, and some are better than others. I actually studied mediumship over in England at this place called the Arthur Findlay College. It's been around for a gajillion years. It's on this old English estate. And the English take it very seriously. They actually
Yeah.
have a church, literally a recognized church in the UK. It's called the National Spiritualist Union.
Okay.
And they train you to really give evidence of life after death.
Wow.
And that week, just, I don't know if I can curse, it kicked my ass. It was really hard
Yeah.
because everybody claims, oh, everybody can just say, oh, I have your grandmother here, she's a nice old lady, but
Right.
you have to be able to say something like your grandmother was a nurse in when she was alive, and she had, she used to bake you this kind of cookie. You got to give that kind of stuff, and
Yeah. The
that is
specifics.
hard.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And I would say that if it wasn't in like an old English country estate, I wouldn't believe in the, I wouldn't trust it. Like the fact that it's there, that just seems like perfect table setting for,
Yeah, it was kind of like going to the Harry Potter
oh
school.
yeah, the Hogwarts.
Yeah,
Yeah.
thank you. But the thing that really intrigued me is I think everybody has an idea of what a medium is. And,
Yeah.
you have the American ones that are well known, like, the Long Island medium, Teresa Caputo and John
Mhm.
Edwards and everything. The ones that I met over there, they were all from all over the world, which
Yeah.
was so cool.
Yeah.
The most ordinary people, I mean, lots of guys too, which really surprised me. And they would be called blokes because they were literally,
Oh,
at the end of the day, they had a pub on
yeah.
site, which I thought, okay. Yeah, these guys down here hoovering up, pints and talking
Sure.
about football. And yet they're like, oh yeah, I've been talking to my dead relatives since I'm 5. And I'm like, this is just the most unlikely. It's just
Yeah.
not, it doesn't fit central casting.
I love it, but that's perfect.
Yeah, and
I would prefer that. Yeah.
yeah, it just made me realize that the movies and everything have made mediumship seem really otherworldly and
Sure.
spooky, ooky, ooky, and the people are just like, crazy and weird. This is it's a skill.
Yep.
Part of it is natural, part of it can be developed,
Hmm.
but it's much more prevalent than you might think, which really intrigues me.
Yeah. Well, for you, when did you realize that you might have the innate skill?
Well, my story is I'm a real DIY girl, and I was always interested. I used to watch Bewitched. I used to have, pull out the Ouija board at slumber
Sure.
parties. And in the 80s, oh God, going back a long way,
Sorry, I was there. It's okay.
yeah,
I remember it.
well, if you remember it, you weren't there. But anyway, I'm kidding.
Oh, fair, fair,
Um,
fair.
No, I was living on Long Island and my girlfriend took a psychic development class at some lady's house and she was, oh, it was so cool. It was so cool. You got to do it. So I went just
Sure.
for grins.
Yeah.
And the first night we were there was like five of us, I think, and we're sitting in her backyard and, she just basically said, give that person some information. And you're like, what? And all of a sudden, she did something which was very helpful. It's a technique called psychometry, which I think I mentioned.
Yeah.
She had all of us put something like a watch, a ring, a bracelet, something we were wearing in a bag. We passed it around, you pulled it out, you held it, and you just tried to get impressions. So I'm holding something, and I'm just giving all this information, and it turned out I was right. I was like, how the heck did I do that? And it was so interesting. It just kind of cracked me open, and I started
Yeah.
studying and practicing. And I got a deck of tarot cards, which I still use,
Sure.
and just kind of building that muscle.
Yeah.
I had not been interested in, and from then on, I've gone on. I read people all over the world.
Hmm.
I call myself the sensible psychic because my motto is I don't believe everything, and neither should you. And
That's good.
there's a lot of weird stuff in the new age space. I mean,
Yeah, sure. And I feel like
it's
for me that my hesitation with all that is like I don't want to take advantage of people who might be grieving and are really kind of like grasping at straws to have some sort of connection to the afterlife. And not saying that that's what you do. And
yeah, yeah,
knowing
yeah.
you, I
No,
don't think you do.
you're right though. You're
Yeah.
right. I mean, just to jump cut to how I got into mediumship.
Mhm.
Obviously I knew about it, hadn't really been terribly interested in it, but after my mother died, I had some really profound experiences of her being around. I'm like, okay, this is trippy.
Yeah.
So I started learning more about it, how to do it, how to adjust my channel. Hence, that's
Sure.
why I went to England and all of that.
Yeah.
But to your point about taking advantage of people, this is a sad truth in that part of the world.
Yeah.
There are most mediums and psychics are ethical, but there are
Yeah.
those who are not.
Yeah.
And I've even said to some of my clients that I want you to take at least 6 months after somebody has passed before you come to me because you need to
Interesting.
go through the grieving process.
Yeah. Of
That's
course.
part of it,
Hmm.
learning to live without their physical presence. And I've had some people wanting to come back, wanting to come back, wanting to come back. This applies to psychic stuff and the mediumship. And I'm like, none of this happens in a vacuum. You have to do your life.
Right.
You
Of
you
course.
can't just wait for the, they're not sitting around waiting for you.
Right.
They've
Yes.
got a life on the other side as well, which they're living.
Yeah.
So, I've actually fired some of my clients because it's like you are just getting way too dependent.
Oh, interesting. Yeah.
I can give you some information. It's
Yeah.
up to you to act on it or not,
Sure.
depending on what you think. But just sitting across from me is not going to change a damn thing.
Right.
So I mean, I actually had one woman who was very obsessed with an incredibly toxic man. Oh
Oh,
my God. She
uh,
kept coming to me and coming to me, and it was ridiculous. And I kept
yeah.
telling her, look, it's not going to work. You need to find somebody better.
Yeah.
He's bad, blah, blah, blah. It
Sure.
got to the point where one day she was here. I said, give me your phone. And she goes, why? I said, where's his contact? And she pulled it up and I deleted it. I
Wow.
said, if it takes me to delete this guy's name out of your phone.
Yeah. We're
So,
we're we're already down the wrong path at that point. Yeah, that's wow. I mean, good for you for
yeah, well,
recognizing
I
that.
don't I don't play. I do not play. And you try to be sympathetic and empathetic, but again, none of this stuff And that includes Reflekta.
Sure.
You can't, you have to live your life in the here and now.
Yeah.
And yes, you can get information, or in the case of Reflekta, I mean, it's a little bit different, but for example, I logged onto the site and I talked to Arthur because
Mhm.
I knew him.
Sure, of course.
And that was interesting. That was very interesting. Um, but I could see where, just like a medium, it could possibly be a little bit of a crutch. So I think it's finding that balance of
Sure.
learning to live without their physical presence in your life,
Yeah.
treasuring it, but we have to finish our job here
Yeah, of course.
every possible way.
Yeah, it's funny because when I've talked to obviously, in researching the company and helping to build it, I've re talking to some of my neighbors and some of my friends, they say that the people who have recently passed, they're not in a place emotionally where they can go to Reflecta and have these conversations, and they really need that space and time to grieve, as you said, but then also to kind of process everything. And so a lot of people are like using Reflecta to, recreate their grandparents versus like their significant others or children
Hmm.
or whatever, and
Hmm.
which I think makes sense personally because it's just like it's so fresh, it's so new that to kind of take that leap is such a dramatic step and so early on in this grieving process that I don't recommend it. And I'm not a doctor or a psychic or anything like that. So I think that's great that you kind of see the parallel there.
Yeah, the thing is that when I work as a medium,
Mhm.
they may have very specific questions for their loved one.
Sure.
And the loved one who's crossed, I'm not saying they all turn into Gandhi, but there's a big change in perspective. It's like, oh, you get the 10,000-foot view of
Sure.
life, whole
Yeah.
thing. So their answer to a particular question may not be what they're really ready to hear or
Of
want to
course.
hear. They have very specific things, and that's exacerbated right after the person passes. So,
Yeah.
I think we're both on the same page that part of losing somebody is navigating the world without
Sure.
them.
Yeah.
That's necessary for our growth.
Mhm.
It teaches you lessons. Um, it helps you value things differently.
Yeah.
So yeah, that grasping for, one more moment is not healthy,
Sure.
you know.
Yeah.
It's like being a stalker, kind of. It's almost like you have to, back off a little bit. Let this person adjust to life on the other side. You've
Of
got to
course.
adjust here. Don't just keep hitting them up,
Right,
leave them
right.
alone.
Well, that's a funny point. Is like, and I don't have a giant depth of knowledge on the subject, but I feel like every time I've seen things on television shows, they're always giving really positive advice or positive things. I mean, have you ever been in a situation where you've talked to somebody and you've gotten like a negative answer to a question or something that that person that's sitting across from you may not actually want to hear? Like, or how do you handle that?
Well, my personal take,
Mhm.
and this applies, I'll just put this in the context of working as a psychic.
Sure.
My feeling is that when somebody comes with a problem, a lot of times people say, I don't want a reading because I don't want to know anything bad. Okay.
Oh, okay. Sure. Okay.
But my take is, look, if you're going through a rough time, if you got a really crappy relationship or money troubles or a boss you want to, push out of the airlock,
Sure.
these are all lessons.
Yeah.
If you can reframe it as like, okay, what do I need to learn? That gives you your power back. You're not just
Sure.
like you're at the mercy of, bad vibes.
Yep.
And I always try to frame it like, okay, here's what I'm picking up. That's a lesson, but look, here's what you can do to improve it.
Got it.
From the mediumship side, um, the people tend to retain their personalities that they had in life, although they may not be as awful. Like, for example, my girlfriend's mother was just not cool,
Oh
not
no.
cool.
Okay.
Very verbally abusive,
Oh,
blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And literally a week after she passed, Debbie woke up in the middle of the night and saw her mother in the bedroom
Oh my
from the
gosh.
waist up because they can't usually materialize full body. It takes a lot of energy. And all she said was, "I'm sorry."
Oh my God.
And then Debbie was like, and she called me like first thing in the morning, and I said, "Well, you know what? I do think that when we get over there, that whole thing about you see your life flash before you when you die,
Yeah.
we all go through something called a life review, and it's basically like the ultimate exit interview. And they're like, well, you did this good, you did that, need to work on it, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
But they definitely get a visceral sense of the good and the bad that they did. And
Got it.
if they're normal people, they'll be like, yeah, that really kind of stunk. I should probably apologize or make it up to them in some way.
Wow.
If they're not, that's when they get stuck. And to me, that's what hell is. You can't elevate towards a higher consciousness. You're just
Sure.
stuck there in the corner.
And
So when they come through, they will retain a lot of their personalities. I'll pick up on, oh, he liked to joke. I just laugh when I hear, feel
sure.
him.
Yeah.
But they can be sometimes no nonsense, like get over it. But usually they're pretty
Wow.
gentle because I would say it's like in high school. You're the senior, you're the big person on campus, and you've got this little nerdy seventh grader who doesn't know how to open up their locker and is
Right.
dropping their books, and you just want to be, well, nice, I mean, ideal 12th graders want to be
Yeah.
nice and
Right.
helpful
Sure.
and
Of course.
sympathetic. I was there once too.
Yeah. Okay.
So the information I get, either I try to, I don't blow smoke, but I try to
Sure.
frame it like, okay, what can you do? What can you learn from this?
Interesting. Yeah. So you're almost a filter kind of in terms of
Kind
how to,
of,
yeah.
yeah. I
Got
mean,
it.
I try to give it straight,
Yeah.
like I don't blow smoke, but to me, all the challenges that we deal with are meant for us to grow. As
Sure.
hard or sucky as it may be, that's why they're
Yeah.
here. So,
So, just in terms of kind of tying it into Reflecta at least a little bit, I mean, you're basically capturing the stories that they want to tell, right? Or from the afterlife and having that 10,000 foot view.
mhm.
So do you find that like you're kind of adding to that person's story a little bit or
I try not to. I mean,
okay,
and this is the thing that I thought was interesting. When I am communicating with somebody on the other side, it's got to come through me and
sure.
my own physical limitations.
Yeah.
And I experience thing either a feeling or I'll see something in my mind's eye or I might hear something,
Hmm.
like the way the voice sounds. But it can be a little bit limited. I'm not going to, and my energy flags after about a half an hour, so I can't just keep going on and on and
I'm
on.
sure it's got to be exhausting. Yeah.
Again, it's like the two planes. My plane is going way down.
Yeah.
The thing I found with Reflekta, and I talked to Miles right after I talked to Arthur, I said, this is a lot more detailed than what I could provide. Granted, and it's always learning. It's based on the knowledge bank, obviously, of
Right.
that person.
Yeah.
But I said, I find that very interesting because I just know when I'm working, I'm like, well, he's telling me that this, and I'm getting this feeling of that. But to kind of ask them, like, well, what happened to you in the war? I might get a physical sense like I was shot, but I can't
Sure.
really tell a full story. It's almost like a trailer in a movie as opposed to whole story.
Right. Interesting. Okay.
So
I love
yeah,
that metaphor. Yeah.
I thought it was so interesting when I saw it when I had my conversation with Arthur and
Mhm.
I first of all I learned a few things about Miles was like I did not know this. It was a
Good or
much
bad, both.
Yeah, I mean it made me laugh. It's like, well, it doesn't surprise me at all, but there was a sense of it was a lot more of a conversation than what I or almost any medium can provide because
Sure.
again, it's coming, you've got to sort of translate what you're getting and see if you can put it together. And a lot of times, and a lot of mediums work this way too, I get like a nudge from something that happened in my own life as a way to describe it like, this happened to me, and I think I'm being shown that to say this is what that means.
Oh, interesting.
So I'm kind of a little bit in the way. You try to not be,
Yeah.
It's a whole technique of
Yeah, I was
just,
gonna say you have to be somehow in the way. I mean, you are the conduit. So,
yeah, I mean, and my eyes don't roll back in my head, and it's not
oh,
like things are flying around the room. But,
really? That's what I want. I'd want the pageantry. I'd want
well, I will tell you, this is an interesting sidebar.
yeah,
When mediumship really took off, it was right after, I mean, it was always around, but right after World War One, when there was so much death, all of
yeah,
a sudden, mediumship became a thing.
yeah,
And Sir Arthur Conan Doyle, who'd lost a son, he really proposed it. He was very interested in it. Houdini thought it was all a bunch of crap, but at that time, mediumship was called physical mediumship, and this is what you see in the movies where they're all around a table and there's things flying around. And um,
yeah.
I actually, when I was studying in England, one of the gentlemen, the mates that I talked to, he said his family kicked him out because he could do something called table tipping, which is you take a little light table and you put your fingers on it like a Ouija board and you
Sure.
ask a question and it will lift a leg and start, kind
Oh,
of
no
walking
way.
through. I know, it's freaky. I saw it. I
I'd kick him out of
saw
my
it
house
done
too.
and I was like, mind officially blown.
Yeah, that's wild.
So yeah, table tipping, things appearing.
Sure.
That was a big trend. Some of it was legit. They tested a couple of mediums,
Hmm.
bound their hands and arms so they couldn't do anything, and stuff did happen.
Whoa.
But a lot of them were fake. We now do what's called mental mediumship. And this is I have a message for somebody. It's coming through your head. You're not, throwing things around the room. It's all like
Yeah.
mental mediumship is more contemporary
Okay.
than the physical stuff, although the physical stuff is really cool. I mean, it's
Yeah.
insane.
Yeah. Candles can light by themselves, things like that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, yeah, yeah, it's crazy. But it's also, well, mental mediumship can be rife for fraud too. But
Yeah. Right, so I'm sorry to interrupt, but
yeah,
that's got to drive you crazy. Is that you have these people who are frauds, who are tainting this art, and it's got to just like it's devaluing what you do. I mean, this is kind of the same in any situation, but especially here where people want to pick it apart. And you've got these people that are frauds that are not helping the situation and doing it for a quick buck or fame.
yeah, I mean, sometimes the expectations that come, and I try to explain to people how I work, and I say, look, you're not guaranteed the person you want to hear from because I said, first of all, they may not have anything to say to you. You may
Oh,
want to just pick up the imaginary phone and have a chat. And they may be like, I'm busy. I'm in the
sure.
shower. See
Yeah,
you
right.
later.
Yeah.
And then there's somebody that might have really need to say something to you.
Yeah.
I liken it to being like the only working cell phone, in a very large area, and whoever is the pushiest and can get to it will
Oh
get to that
no.
cell phone.
I know some of
But
my pushy ancestors. I don't know if I want that. I don't want to talk to them. I yeah.
well, I always say you're going to get the message that you're meant to get. You're
Sure.
going to hear from who you're meant to hear from. But people are they think it's like they can, like a diner and you can order this. It's like, it doesn't
Yeah.
work like that.
Got
So I
it.
have to manage the expectations. And I fully admit, I mean, even here in my town, there was a psychic who was just ripping people off and she
Uh,
got run out of town. But I said, look, nobody's perfect. If
yeah.
you don't believe in it, I'm not asking you to. We get a lot of pushback from the religious groups around here,
Sure.
the Jehovah's Witnesses and all that. And
Well,
I worked at a
you're in
little
the same
jewelry.
game, just you're wearing different outfits.
No. I used to work at a new age shop, and we used to have all those little angry letters shoved under the door. You're going to
Sure.
hell. You're going to hell. I said, well,
Yeah.
are you going to be there? No, good. I'll go there.
Yeah, it's funny that
Um,
you say that because we get that on some of our
I
comments
know
on, and it's really like we've never said we're trying to
I
rebuild these
know
people and resurrect them. But I think it's just such a touchy subject and a sensitive subject that people,
it
as soon as
is.
there's a little friction, they just jump on it.
I try to explain with the psychic stuff and the mediumship stuff. It's like, look, if it were evil and bad, why has that ability been given to other people?
Sure.
Because to me, it's all about making a connection, healing, improving ourselves, growing. What do we have to learn? And
Hmm.
it's all meant to move ourselves up to, spiritually evolutionary ladder.
Of course.
So I do try to level set the expectations when people
Okay.
come. Like, this is what I can do, this is what I can't do. And you take
Right.
what resonates and you leave the rest behind. And, the trickiest thing I found for anybody doing this work is nobody wants to be wrong. It's embarrassing.
Right. Of
You
course.
have to be
Sure.
okay with getting stuff wrong,
Yeah.
and people, and I always have them record their readings because they said something may not make sense to you now, but
Oh,
it might
interesting.
later. And I can't
Yeah.
tell you how many times people are like, oh, that's what that was. And
Right.
sometimes they have to have verification from a family member. If I say, well, I'm getting this about your uncle or whatever, I don't know. I say, well, is there somebody who can tell you?
Right.
Um, but the bottom line is it's not foolproof. It's not
Right. Of course.
100%.
Yeah.
That to me regarding Reflekta is a little bit of the difference because if you want to hear from your dead father, you can hear from your dead father.
You're right.
It's not organic. It's
No.
not necessarily proving the existing existence of consciousness as we pass,
Right.
but it's that connection, and
Yeah.
that's what people crave. It's just connecting.
Yep. And do you think that's the main impetus why people use your services is for that connection? I mean, it's
Yeah.
obviously it's to like get answers or supposed answers to things, but I feel like for most people it would be to have that connection again and to
Yeah, there's a lot of questions people have. And I also do this with pets who've crossed over, and I actually get more people crying over their dead dog than their
I
granddog.
would lose it, I'm sure.
Oh, I had a guy come, his sister gave him a gift certificate. He just lost his dog. He comes in my office, typical Jersey juice head, big muscles,
I would
tattoos.
hope so. You could just say a Jersey
Yeah,
man and I would
yeah,
assume.
no,
Yeah.
like no hair, just
Yep.
jacked as all.
Yeah.
Within like, and I would say just bring a picture so I can sort of just tune in, it
Yep.
helps me do that. Within 5 minutes, he's bawling like a baby. I mean, I keep tissues on my desk.
You
And I
would
said,
have to. You would have
yeah,
to.
I said, that's what they're there for. And I said, I won't tell your buddies, um, but the point is that a lot of times they just want, did I do the right thing?
Yeah.
Did they suffer? And this is for humans too. I wish I had told him I loved him before he died. And I'm like, look,
Yeah.
he hears it now. I said, that's the trick. They can hear us. We just can't hear them. That's where I come in.
Yeah.
But people say, well, tell her I love her. I was like, you just did.
Yeah.
So it's a little bit of that. But yeah, they usually have questions. And now that I'm thinking about it, some questions related to their relationships of, did I do enough?
Sure.
Is she mad at me? Does she forgive me?
Yep.
Does she know about, that's the cool thing too. They know about stuff that's happening in your life, like if a baby's come
Yeah.
or you add an addition on to your house. They will sometimes say, oh, I really like what you did with the kitchen. I mean, it's so banal, but it's
Yeah, but
like
that's very nice. It's nice to know.
they're not sitting around like spying on you, but they are aware of the
Sure.
people that they love, and they'll just sort of, put on their little glasses. Oh,
Yeah.
look what they did.
So I should stop shoplifting, is what you're saying. Or else my grandmother's
Yeah.
gonna be very angry. Okay.
Yes, but they don't come into the shower with you,
Well, that's
and
good. That's good.
I know people think, oh, they're watching. It's like, no, they're not. I mean, they're not creeps,
I would hope not.
but yeah, most of the questions when people come are related to things that happened while they were alive that
Yeah.
they, are they aware of? I wish I hadn't done that. Does she forgive me? Should I have talked to another doctor? Did, blah, blah, all
Yeah.
that. It's really about resetting the balance in those relationships, I think.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely.
Giving them some peace, like, don't feel guilty. It was fine. It's cool. It's good.
Love it. Okay.
So,
I there are people alive who I probably need to have that similar conversation with.
well, you see, that's the thing. If you, like I said, with all the people that have problems, I said, what can you take from that? Is there
Sure.
something you can do now to get over the hump of whatever it is? And so if you just text or pick up the phone to somebody you think you feel like you should maybe say something, do it.
Yeah. All
Because
right.
the shoulda, coulda, woulda stuff is what kills people after somebody's died.
Yeah, I'm sure.
I saw that in my own family. I have two older sisters, and my older sister and my mother had a pretty fraught relationship. And she had the worst time dealing with everything after mom.
Yeah.
My other sister and I, were, and I was very conscious of, telling her I loved her as she got older and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And I tell people the shoulda, coulda, woulda
Hmm.
is what will eat you alive. So
Oh,
if there's a way to bypass that and just
yeah.
put yourself out there,
Yeah.
whatever it is you need to do, whether it's taking a risk in your career or reaching out to somebody you haven't talked to in years because they're an idiot, whatever.
Sure.
You need to just because you want to be able to
Yeah.
put your head down on the pillow at night feeling
Sure.
like
And live without regret.
exactly no
Uh,
unfinished business. So,
yeah. So just to bring it back to Reflekta again, because
mhm, because
we're trying to pimp ourselves here. Like in terms of, and I kind of touched on this earlier. Like we have, obviously people have ethical concerns about this technology and trying to form these connections with people who have passed. Like, do you see that as an ethical concern or?
no,
Oh,
no.
okay, not.
People have tried, I mean, this has gone on for as long as man has been alive. There's a lot of different ways people have tried to connect. In fact, I just saw something on a Facebook ad. There's something called automatic writing, and it's basically like a mediumistic technique where you are, you kind of, go into a light trance and you've got a pen and a pencil or whatever and paper,
Mhm.
and you just ask that person to communicate through writing. And
Oh,
it's an interesting process to watch. It's not very, I mean, they're literally like going around the page like this, and then they finally might get a word or a sentence or whatever. Ouija boards are the same way, and I don't
okay,
think they're evil. I think it's a tool, but it's got to be just like Reflekta. Ouija boards, you need to know what you're doing.
sure,
Back in the days of the Greeks, there was something called the psychomantium, where it was a temple,
okay,
and you would kind of make an appointment. You'd go in there, there would be like a bowl of water, and it was very dim. And you would go in there and stare into the bowl of water, which is a technique called scrying. It kind of it
scrying,
just
interesting.
yeah,
I'm
it's
like, I want to take a
S
note on this because that sounds amazing.
yeah, Scrying. And it's a
Okay.
form of divination. And the idea is as you're looking at the water, your mind's kind of just relaxing.
Hmm.
And the idea would be that you would see the face of your deceased loved ones. And these things were incredibly popular. You had to do all this stuff before you showed up. You had to fast, you had to, take
Oh, wow.
sacred baths and all this.
Yeah.
But the point being, we've always tried to find a way to connect to people we've lost.
Hmm.
It's just, it is what it just is what it is. So as far as ethics,
Yeah.
I feel like if you're approaching it from the right frame of mind, like we're not trying to screw anybody over or take advantage, and we know
Hmm.
our limits, and we don't want you to overuse the service, and we want you to be able to use this to as a tool to,
Sure.
maybe experience something. But we don't want you to become addicted to it. And that's the
Right.
same thing in my work. I don't want you to become addicted. So
Yeah.
to answer your question, no, this is nothing new. This is just a fancier way of doing it.
Yeah. With ones and zeros instead of,
Yeah.
chances. But yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. It's just, and I find it interesting too, because as it learns more about that person,
Hmm.
because I actually asked Arthur as an experiment,
Hmm.
what can you tell me about what I do, how it can apply to Reflekta? And there was literally nothing in his memory bank. It was nothing. I told Miles, I said, I got nothing. But
Yeah.
why would he know about what I do and how? He doesn't have that.
Yeah. Right. Of course.
But as time goes on and there's more input from
Sure.
family members and, AI picks up on it,
Yeah.
it will be interesting to see the levels of conversation one has.
Right. And
So,
how in depth it can go. And, it's always
yeah.
learning too. Um,
Yeah, the only difference which and again, I think this is where Miles and I got hung up
mhm.
is it doesn't give you proof of life
Right.
after death.
Very
It
much so.
just
Right.
doesn't.
Right.
But that's what a medium is supposed to be able to do.
Sure. Of course. Yeah.
But it does give you that connection and that interaction
Hmm.
that both sides of the street
Yeah. Of course.
provide.
Yeah. Do you find that in terms of closure, is that a real thing, or
Mhm.
is grief something that we just carry? Is it or
Well, my thing is we will always grieve. It doesn't really go away. It's sort
Mhm.
of you kind of grow around it,
Oh,
and people.
interesting.
The other thing is people think I should be over it by now, and I said there's no timetable.
Yeah,
Everybody's different.
that's so dangerous to
And
just.
you never know what's going to trigger you. I mean, years after my dad passed, I went to see that movie On Golden Pond,
Oh,
with Jane
oh
Fonda and
wow.
him.
So you just wanted to cry.
Well,
Yeah.
I didn't. I mean, I walked in, I had no expectations.
Oh, okay.
Then when Henry Fonda shows up with his little hat and his glasses, he looked
Yeah.
just like my dad.
Oh no.
I lost it. My boyfriend had to like take me out of the theater, and I was like not ready for that. So you never know
Sure.
grief is going to show up.
Yeah.
And I say there's no timeline. You
Hmm.
kind of can sense if somebody's really stuck, and that's when it's like maybe you need to talk to a counselor or
Sure.
something.
So you work hand in hand with counselors and that sort of thing.
I
You're
know
not trying to
some.
replace. Yeah. Okay.
No, 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 no. I tell them, look, this is way above my pay grade. You're clearly having troubles.
Yeah.
Well, I can tell you what I'm picking up. I can hopefully help you. But well, this actually happened last year. Another woman I know gave a friend of hers a gift certificate because she'd lost her cat.
Hmm.
And she was so attached to this cat. And she was really her friend was concerned that she was getting close to the unaliving part.
Oh, geez. Yeah, that's horrible.
So I knew that going in.
Yeah.
And I just talked to her and I picked up what I got and I told her all about it and everything. And I kind of kept a channel open, email me, let me know how you're doing.
Sure.
But I kept telling her, as did her friend, I said, you need to talk to somebody who's a professional
Yeah.
about, maybe you need a little medication, maybe you
Hmm.
need, those are different skill sets of what I've got.
Yeah.
Well, P.S., she ended up getting some counseling,
Oh,
thank
great.
God.
Okay.
And
That's
so
that's good.
between
Good.
what I told her and her friend, and
Mhm.
she was fine. But most people, most garden variety grief, you learn to live with it. It gets to
Mhm.
the point where you can look back on something and not break down. You can smile, oh,
Sure.
that was a
Yeah.
nice memory. And I think that's where Reflekta can also be helpful in reminding, the family, especially the little ones that didn't know the person.
Yeah.
We always played, Yahtzee, Christmas morning, or we did it, and that's, the grown-ups might get past and then say, oh yeah, and he always cheated or something
Sure.
like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's a way again of grief doesn't really disappear, but it you kind of just grow around that hole in your heart.
Sure. Yeah.
And you realize it sucks. You
Yeah.
wish you could fast forward through it, but it's just a
Yeah.
thing.
And then you
So
just got to process it in your own time and
that's part of the
yeah.
whole journey of
Yeah,
life.
right. So I guess that brings up a good question though, in terms of like future generations. Like how do you see them relating to their ancestors? Whether, through mediumship, through Reflecta, through a combination of all of the above. I mean, is there anything out there that you see as like a new thing coming through that isn't just Reflecta? Um, that was a very large question for a very
Well,
specific answer.
first of all, um, I don't think the interest in connection to people who've passed, however it is maintained or
Mhm.
managed, will ever go away. I think it's just kind of hardwired into us. It's a
Yeah.
big question, is there life after death?
Hmm.
Um, of course, they will be using whatever's out there.
Yeah.
I will be really interested to see. I mean, on one hand, I don't believe because it's artificial that it can have that organic component that is the
Yeah.
heart of mediumship and divination.
Hmm.
But who knows? That actually,
Yeah. Maybe down the road,
yeah, I
but
mean, I had a few thoughts on that because
sure.
I saw AI they redid a Zeppelin album and they did it in the style of the 50s and they
Oh.
call even the album cover, the four guys look like, Ricky Nelson basically.
Oh my God.
And
Robert Plant is Ricky Nelson. I love it. Okay.
you haven't heard Whole Lot of Love till you heard the done this 50 and I was like, okay, it's a novelty.
Yeah.
But there's something really wrong about it. They're basically cannibalizing stuff that's got. I said, McCartney dreamt the melody to Yesterday Keith Richards dreamt the Rift to Satisfaction.
Yeah.
And even the documentary, the Get Back documentary that was
Sure.
done a couple of years ago, and you
Yeah.
see Paul sitting there noodling around, coming up with Get Back.
Yeah. It's
Ringo,
crazy.
and they're all, it's so organic.
Very
That
much
is
so.
something I will be curious to see if AI ever crosses into that territory. I kind of don't think it can, but what
No.
do I know?
Yeah,
So to
no.
answer your question, very long-winded
Not at
way,
all. Not at all.
I think it's always going to be a constant. People want to know. They want to know,
Yeah.
and they're going to figure out ways to do it. The thing I was telling you about, this psychomantium, which is from ancient Greece,
Hmm.
has actually become popular again. This guy, Dr. Raymond Moody, who is kind of an expert in
Again,
grief.
writing this down.
Yeah,
Scrying.
Dr. Raymond Moody. He wrote a book. I think he wrote a book called Life After Life. But anyway, he's
Oh,
he's
that's cool.
very big in the space of grieving, and he got into the whole past life, seances and everything, kind of because it kept coming up in his practical work.
Hmm.
And so he's recreated a psychomantium in his home.
Whoa.
It's just a room. There's like a big full-length mirror. It's dim light. Everything is blacked out. He uses like candlelight. And his patients go in there. They sit in a comfy chair and they can see the image of their loved one in the mirror. Now, how much talking they do, it's again kind of limited,
Yeah.
but they see them. Um, That's the
Whoa.
other interesting thing about how you see people on the other side. They usually present in their 30s, their ideal
I
age.
hope so. Oh God, I hope I present my 30s.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
that's kind of, and just kind of let you know, like we're living our best life over here.
Yeah. All
Um,
right. I like that.
yeah, children who have passed will show up as children as you remember them.
Okay. Interesting.
But adults who've lived their
Hmm.
life, they'll look like, oh, just like you did in your wedding picture, because that's physically when they were in their prime, hopefully. So when these people go into the psychomantium, they see that person not as they were sick or old or
Yeah.
in pain. They see them, like,
That's lovely. Yeah. In their
yeah, isn't it
prime.
nice? Which
That
is
is
very
nice.
comforting and
Yeah.
lets them
Very much
know,
so.
like, they're okay. Because a lot of people, that's what they want to know. Are they okay?
Yeah. God, I'd
So,
be perfect if I looked like I was still in my 30s. I'd feel pretty good.
wouldn't we all?
Yeah, I know. Is there something or one thing that the living misunderstand about those who have passed? I mean, is there one thing that you see all the time that is
Yeah.
dismissed?
I think it's hard for them to wrap their brain around the fact that they are living a life over there. Because
Yeah.
my experience has been once they cross, they kind of do this, life review,
Hmm.
and then they get busy kind of downloading what they learned into sort of the whole cosmic consciousness. Like, boy, are they really stuck on this down there now? We need to, amp up the thing. This is a
Sure.
little wonky, but I'll just share it because I
Love
think
it.
it's relevant. There are, the Indians or the Hindus did not have it wrong when they talk about karma and reincarnation, because the whole point is you come down here in this
Hmm.
physical body with all its limitations and communication and this, that, and the other language. You learn, you go back, they say, all right, you did good here, you kind of sucked there. You're going to need to go back and
Yeah. Right.
kind of try to get it right. And we keep
Sure.
doing it over and over and over again until we finally get it. So, okay, we kind of got it. And you can stay up there if you want and just enjoy nirvana, doing what
Yeah.
you want to do, whatever that may be. It could be
Yeah.
playing poker every day with your buddies. It could be
Love it.
gardening. It could be, playing music. Whatever.
Hmm.
It's kind of whatever you want it to be. That's why they call it heaven,
Yep.
or summer camp. But
I've
some
seen some things that happen at summer camp. I don't know if I want heaven to be
yeah,
summer camp.
yeah, I know. But some of these very elevated souls have been coming, they've chosen to come back into the fray. It's like, I'll go. I'll take
Right.
one for the team, because their
Yeah.
experience and
Hmm.
their perspective will kind of move the rest of us sorry crew a little bit faster.
Oh, interesting. I love that.
Yeah, that's actually been, I mean, I don't know if I believe the timing of it, but they say it's been happening a lot since like the 70s.
Oh, okay.
So, you see people say, oh, they're such an old soul. It's like,
Yeah.
bingo, they are.
Interesting. Okay. I love it.
So yeah, so I think people don't understand that when they cross, they're not just sitting around flipping through a magazine waiting for you to reach out to them.
Right.
They're doing stuff.
Yeah.
That's why I say you may not hear from who you want to hear from. They may have bingo, they may they may be doing whatever. You'll hear from
Yeah.
who you're supposed to hear from.
I love it.
I
Okay.
know. I, and this is the other thing about when you cross over, that movie Ghost got it right, where at the end Patrick Swayze he sees all these people off in the distance, and they're
Yeah.
all there to kind of help you know what to do, because it's like
Sure.
walking into a new school. Like, what do
Oh
I do?
yeah. God, talk
They're
about nerves.
there to they're there to kind of like, here's where you go. You got to talk to this. That's what
Yeah.
they're there for. But the best part is that before those people even get to you, your animals, all the pets and animals you've loved past, they are pushing through that line,
Yeah.
knocking each other over to get to you first.
That's amazing.
I
I
know,
love
which
that.
I'm looking forward to being, covered in my dogs and my cats.
Yeah,
So
I love it. That's good enough for me. I'm
yeah.
sold. That so you must have a pretty good relationship with death. And there's probably a more eloquent way to say that, but it's
Yes.
everyone's big fear. But I feel like I mean, you
Look,
seem
I'm not, yes and no. I understand more about it. I think
mhm,
I've experienced that,
sure. Yeah,
but when somebody you love crosses, it still sucks.
yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
I did one thing that I'm very proud of. I had a stepfather who I adored.
Mhm.
He had dated my mother. They met in 1939 on the Atlantic City Boardwalk, and they dated
Oh
for
my
four
God.
years. Then the war came, and
Yeah,
big cultural thing and whatever. So he
sure.
ended up getting married to somebody else. She married my father. They didn't really stay in touch, but he stayed in touch with some mutual friends of theirs.
Got it.
Anyway, after my dad died, or after his wife died, my dad was already dead. He
Mhm.
came to Maryland to visit, and they fell in love, and they got married and had a lovely marriage, and it was
Wow.
wonderful.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing.
And when he was in hospice,
Mhm.
because we had these long conversations. We kept having to go down to Maryland, the house was in the market, so we had these long car rides. And so
Yeah.
I would tell him what I thought, and he was a very good Catholic altar boy from New York, and he didn't believe it. And I was like, all right, whatever. So when he was in hospice, he was so, when I told him about how people come to help you,
Mhm.
he's like, well, what if his first wife, Anna Lee, comes? And what if your mother comes? I don't know what to do. Who do
Oh,
I go to
interesting.
first?
Yeah,
It was driving him crazy, and I could see
sure.
it. I thought about it for a while, and I had this image in my head, and I said, I figured it out. I got a vision or something. I said,
Yeah.
they're both going to be there, and they're going to each take a hand and help
Uh,
you over the ditch.
yeah. Lovely.
After that visit, I left after a couple hours, drove back home. As soon as I got home, my stepsister called me and she goes,
Uh,
what did you say to my dad? And I told her. She goes, well, he says, City thinks I'm going to die. And I'm like, well, duh, we're all going to die. He literally died the next day. It's like he could finally let go.
oh, wow.
It was driving him insane.
Yeah. It's
So
like
I
figuring out that
felt
final puzzle piece. Let him,
exactly.
got
And
it.
he's such a control freak that so when I had that, I was so grateful for that piece of information because it
Yeah.
allowed him to let go of the rope. And
Yeah. Oh, interesting.
plus, two other things happened after he passed because, we had this kind of ongoing bet, like, you're wrong, no, you're wrong.
Yeah.
And he said to me one day, just jokingly, he says, all right, I'll make a bet with you. When I die and you're right, I will send you a sign. I'm like, okay, because it'll be a bird crapping on you. I'm like, ha ha ha. Well, two things happened. The
Uh-oh.
moment before my stepsister called to tell me that he had passed, I
Hmm.
heard in my head, well, that was easy. And just like,
Oh.
and I was like, oh God, it made me laugh. And then she called and told me 10 days after he died, and 10 days is kind of a typical window when you kind of sense them or,
Okay.
for whatever reason.
They've gone through the central
Yeah,
processing
they've
and
kind
they're,
of
yeah.
gone through the orientation process.
Sure. Yeah.
I looked out my window onto my driveway and it had been carpet bombed
Oh,
with birds.
no.
It has never happened before. It has never happened since. And I could not stop laughing because that was so him.
Yeah.
So so to answer your question about it's not easier,
Yeah.
but I have a certain perspective that, I mean, the pain is still there, but at least
Sure.
I know they're okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
and I'm expecting signs and, all that,
Yeah.
which I think might be different from the normal person, but it doesn't make the grief any easier. You just are like, all right, you're just better equipped to deal with it, but it still
Yeah.
still
Still
sucks.
sucks.
Yeah. So,
Do you think that there's a combination of doing mediumship or divination with Reflecta? I mean, is there like, would you ever recommend it to some of your clients, or is it?
yeah, I haven't gotten around to it yet, but I
Yeah.
said I almost wanted to poll my followers on my Facebook page, my psychic page, to see what
Mhm.
they think of it. I haven't gotten around
Yeah.
to it yet.
Love it.
I
I'd
think
love to
it's
know the answer to that or to see
Yeah,
the
I think
results.
it's I think it I again, this is where Miles and I have just kind of kept it's a fit. It's not quite natural because again, one is artificial. It's
Yes.
based on life experience.
Yep.
The other is the life experience as
It's
well as
organic. Yeah.
what they're experiencing and learning and can offer from a different place.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess if I did ask Arthur, what's it like on the other side?
Hmm.
And I got a pretty vague answer, like, oh, it's good.
Yeah. And that could also be on our end because we do try to, we don't want the machine to make wild assumptions. And so it
Yes.
was probably like, hey, I'm going to give you a really vague answer versus a
Yeah, and
detailed
and
answer.
and obviously if it's drawing from his life experience, he wouldn't know what it's like on the other side any more than you or I would,
Right.
because we haven't been there yet, at
Yes,
least
exactly.
not in this lifetime. So I don't know. It keeps bugging me. I do think that there is some crossover where, okay, let's just say somebody uses Reflekta and they get some information about, um, you know, what it was like in wartime.
Hmm.
Kind of factual, I was here and
Sure.
I'm so proud of this and what I did. What a medium that might open up more questions that
Oh,
Reflekta
interesting. Yeah.
cannot answer.
Oh, I like
Where they
that.
might say, well, and it's almost like taking it like, well, I found some letters and he said this, and
Yep.
what does this mean?
Very much so. It's almost like a
So
precursor to
exactly.
speaking with a medium. I see.
Right.
Wow.
So the medium can sort of tune in and say, well, okay, you said this to mom, or you wrote this down, or I got this on Reflecta, or
Yeah.
whatever. What about X? Sort of things that, feelings, or where did you get shot? If you
Yeah.
didn't
Yeah.
leave, then I might pick up like I get a pain in my knee or something like
Oh,
that.
wow.
So it
Yeah.
sort of can augment the established record a
Sure.
bit.
Yeah. Right.
That's kind of
But
what I'm thinking.
yeah, because I wouldn't even say it's two sides of the same coin. I think it's, to your point, it is very much like a mechanical versus an organic. And
Yeah.
we're basically like our knowledge for Reflecta with these people we're quote unquote, for lack of a better term, recreating, like it stops as soon as we have that last bit of information and it doesn't go farther from there. Um, farther. You're the writer. I don't know what
Whatever.
I'm saying. So, but you can extend that out. So after they've crossed over, then you have all that history,
Yeah, it's
which is
kind of a jumping off point.
yeah,
And like I said, it can maybe fill in some emotional details,
mhm,
because a lot of times I pick up physical sensations like, oh, I have, my arm feels like it went numb, turns out
yeah,
he had a stroke, something like that. So
wow,
I think as it could open up doors where they just want to know more, and that more is not there in the AI sense,
no, not at all, not at
but
all.
there's another way to access it. It's
Hmm.
different, but it's again, the common link is its connection. It's
Yeah,
just connection. Everybody wants connection.
absolutely.
So I think we might have cracked the code, Adam.
I hope so. I hope so. I don't know.
I don't know either. I don't know
I
either.
don't have any answers. I'm trying to find them, but I don't have any of them.
Yeah.
Um,
But I guess to sum up, I don't
mhm.
think it's unethical. I don't think mediumship, psychic work, divination, any of it's evil, if you approach it from a place of ethics,
Hmm.
and you're frank with what you can and what you can't do.
Yeah.
And I don't believe it's evil in the sense of attracting evil spirits either. I mean, every spiritual worker tends to surround themselves with positivity, whether that's
Yeah.
saying a prayer or envisioning white light. So nothing, I don't believe in the devil, but you
Mhm.
can definitely get some low energy come in.
Oh, interesting. So
Yes,
it's a spectrum of energy, really, in terms
yeah,
of different.
exactly.
Okay.
I mean, it's like anything. If you walk into a room after somebody's had a fight, you could feel it.
Oh, absolutely.
Or there are people you don't want to hang around with because they're like Debbie Downers.
Yeah.
You just don't want that. So the fundamentals of working in the spiritual space
Hmm.
is to approach it from a positive, helpful, let's get better as people.
Yeah.
Let's get your life better. And to me, that's what any religious figure would want.
Oh, sure. Oh,
Want them,
definitely.
you want your kids to do better and not be dimwits. And this is the kind of work that I think can help.
Yeah, of course.
And again, it's not 100%. It never is. Even
But
the
nothing
big,
is.
yeah, no,
Not-
but even the big TV mediums, like I get kind of furious when I see them on TV because they edit the hell out of them to make it
Yeah.
look like they get everything right all the time. That's
Oh,
just
I'm
not how
sure.
it is.
Yeah. No, you can't do
So,
that. That's
so anyway, but yeah, I do think that Reflekta is an excellent tool for keeping that connection alive,
Mhm.
um, carrying on a conversation that I think can be very psychologically healing.
Sure. Yeah.
Um, And I think you guys are in the right place of seeing it for what it is. It's not like emotional crack. It's something that, it's a tool,
Yeah.
to be used in context of your own growth, grieving process, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Hmm.
So
Amazing.
I know I could talk about this all day, but I know we're limited. But
No, it's yeah. Is there anything else that like I haven't touched on or that you just wanted to mention? I've kind of gone
well,
through my questions.
like I said, the reason I love talking about this is I actually wrote a book a couple of years ago, and it's
Oh,
called Okay, So You're Dead, A Sassy Guide to the Afterlife. And it's basically all the questions we've talked about.
great.
What happens, what happens to suicides? What happens, why do little kids get mowed down?
Mhm.
What's the reason for it? What happens to them, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Love it.
And I did a kind of companion book for pet lovers about called Your Pet Has Died, Now What? And what that experience is like, because that's different than humans in a lot of ways. So I would, invite anybody who's got questions about the afterlife. They're really easy reads. They're kind of funny because I'm kind of a natural smartass. But
I know.
yes, you do.
I've for the past 25 years I've known that.
Yes. So I mean that might be a helpful resource to anybody
Absolutely.
who's just going through that. But
Mhm. I'll put links in all of our
oh, thank you.
things for
Yeah, they're
questions.
both up on Amazon or
Great.
whatever. And that's kind of it. I'm always open to questions if they want to email me or hop on my Sensible Psychic Facebook page, anything like that, because I'm just talking about this stuff all the time.
Well, you seem to like be very passionate about it, which is amazing. I love
I
talking to
am.
people who are passionate about things. So
It's so interesting. I mean, when I was over in England, the stuff that we did and saw, I mean, we did something like the last night we were there called EVP, which is called Electronic Voice Phenomenon.
okay.
And for whatever reason, spirit, because it's energy, they love electronics. So the ghost hunters of today are using all these weird machines. Anyway,
Sure.
the old school way of doing it, we were in this, and this house is, God, hundreds of years old.
Oh, for
So,
sure. I have a picture of it in my head, and I just hope it's even
it
20% of what I'm
was it
picturing.
was it was nuts. It was
Yeah.
nuts. We were staying there, so everybody came down to breakfast with like, oh, Miss whatever her name was who died 100 years ago. She came to
Mm.
visit me last night. Oh, really? Please pass the sausage. But this EVP thing we did, basically we set up an old tape recorder,
Yeah.
reel to reel, really old school.
Love it.
And it was in this library with, we were all around, and the teacher would ask a question and then leave a space for an answer, and you can't hear it in your ear. But when he played it back, three different voices,
No.
distinctly different, two guys and a woman. The answers were rather short, again, not like Reflekta where it's a little bit, but we're
Gross.
all like, what the hell? I mean, It was cool. It
That's
was,
that's cool. That is, I mean, especially three different distinct
oh
voices. I
yeah,
mean, that's
absolutely. Very different. One, I mean, obviously they're all English, but one had a definite like thick Yorkshire accent.
yeah.
And if you've ever watched Downton Abbey, you know what that sounds
I
like.
oh yeah,
And then the woman, and then the other guy had a very big booming voice. And again, the answers were not long. They were like a few words. The questions
sure.
were not complicated.
Hmm.
But yeah, I mean, people do this on their phones now. They put the voice memo function. I did this in my girlfriend's kitchen after her dad had been gone for about a year,
Oh
just goofing around. And I said, "Oh,
yeah,
let's do EVP with your dad." So I turned the voice memo on. Nobody else was home.
yeah.
And we'd ask a question and sort of wait, ask a question and kind of wait, and then play it back. And she said, that's my dad's voice.
No
That is my
way.
dad's voice.
Just
Yeah.
in the spaces of you of
Yeah.
waiting.
Yeah. You just wait, like give somebody the chance to answer. And she literally like went, we had to have cocktails after that. She went white. She went,
Cocktails. I
"Oh
would
my
have
God."
been like, yeah,
Yeah.
let's do just straight shots of whiskey and just
Spirits of another kind. Um,
there you
she
go.
she went white. She's like, "Oh my God, that's my dad's voice." So they do love electronics, and it's kind of interesting. AI is electronic.
Yeah.
There's just something about the energies they can tap into. But anyway, there was a point to me telling you this. I just thought it was interesting.
No,
So
I just super interesting. It's a world that I don't know anything about. So just having this hour-long conversation is just truly fascinating. And I have all these notes that I'm gonna I'm gonna Google after this. I'm gonna dive into Google.
yeah, you get made fun of. My stepbrother used to introduce me to complete strangers. This is my stepsister. She talks to dead people, and then he'd walk away.
Oh,
And like,
that's not
thank
very pleasant.
you.
Thanks, bud.
But
Great.
yeah, so you just have to approach it with a sense of humor. But I know
Sure.
it's real, and I
Yeah,
know it can be very helpful, and
absolutely.
it's just fascinating as hell. So
Yeah. Wow. Do you have any readings today? Are you
not
not
today.
today? Okay. Is it readings? I'm sorry if I'm saying the wrong parlance here.
Yeah,
Okay.
readings. Yeah,
Okay.
reading session,
Hmm.
whatever. Um, Yeah, actually, well, you can kind of see I have all my little spiritual tchotchkes in my
Got
office.
it. Okay.
I basically represent all the religions. I've got an angel, I've got a statue of the Blessed Mother, and I'm not even Catholic. I've got Buddha, Kuan Yin
Oh,
upstairs. I've got some Indian, like
love
Hindu
it.
gods.
Yeah.
I just feel like they're all of these figures. I've got a picture of Saint Francis, the whole and the angels behind me.
Hmm.
I feel like they're all here to elevate us. That's why I say it's not evil, it's not bad. None of this
Hmm.
stuff, whether it's Reflekta, it's not bad. It's if it can make you a better person, that's what we do.
Yeah. Wow. I love it. I mean, I think that's just well, in general, I think that's a great way to live your life is if
Yeah.
it can make you or someone else a better person, then go
Look, I
for it.
still flip people off on on the New Jersey Turnpike. I'm
Well, it's
not
the New
as,
Jersey Turnpike. You're supposed to. That's how
but
you pay the toll.
yes. But I do think it's a reminder, like, we're all imperfect. We're not going to be Gandhi. You don't have to be.
Hmm.
But if you can just kind of have a bigger perspective on like, is that kind? Did I need to say that?
Yeah.
Should I apologize?
Yeah.
Should I stop blaming this person?
Yeah. Or is my grandfather going to come down and tell me that, it's okay. He's watching me be a jerk to this person or whatever. I
Yeah,
don't want to make
they
them angry.
no, they don't get angry. And the other thing too is I would just say to whoever's watching this is that they do like to be involved in our lives, not
Mhm.
meddling, but they've kind of got superpowers. Well, sort of. If you need help with something, go to sleep at night and just say, "Gee, Grandpa, I really don't know what to do about this." And then just pay attention. You might hear a song on the radio, you might see something, a headline in a newspaper, something online and I always say you can always tell. It's like, that's weird. Kind of comes off like it's like a piece of advice or a message. And you have to ask. They don't just butt in.
Right. Oh,
But you
okay.
say, just like, I'm really struggling with this. What should we do? Blah, 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 blah. And they love being able to help. So
Awesome. Yeah.
just ask and then say thank you when you
Oh,
just
that's
be,
always, yeah, polite. Yeah. And then look for so when sorry, I'm truly fascinated. I'm going to talk your ear off. I apologize. But like, let's say there is something in like a newspaper. Would there be like a certain energy from that? Like, could you, if you're looking for the answer or for some sort of clue or whatever, is it,
I think you have to kind of leave yourself open.
oh,
People like
okay.
demand certain kinds of signs. Like if you're really here, I want you to make this candle glow, or I want to see this,
Uh,
or I want, and it's like they're like, you're not the boss of me. I will deliver it when you
sure.
most need it. So
Right.
you have to
Okay.
sort of just ask,
Yeah.
have a certain light expectation. Don't be obsessing. I mean, I
Right.
worked with a guy in radio who had lost his mother, and he lived in LA. He was a DJ. He came to New York. He was very upset, obviously.
Yeah.
We're walking through Times Square, and this was before it got cleaned up, so it was still pretty disgusting. He
Well, it's
kept,
disgusting now. It's just in a different way of
yeah,
being
different
disgusting.
kind. He kept picking up used cigarette butts. He says, "Oh, that my mother used to smoke." I'm like, Blair,
Oh,
that's just nasty. And it was really getting ridiculous.
yeah.
I said, she would not, she was a nice Southern lady. She would not be sending you this nasty trash. So I said, you have to just kind of relax
Yeah.
and kind of maybe expect it, but you don't know when, you don't know
Yeah.
where, but you will know because it stands out as something a little bit out of the norm.
Yeah. So don't go looking for it. Just let it come to you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I always say it's like a tickle in the back of your brain. Just that was weird.
Yeah.
That's not the normal thing. But
Oh,
they will
cool.
send you, you ask, they'll try to send you or a person, like you
Mhm.
suddenly you're talking to somebody or you're introduced to somebody or you find a LinkedIn profile or something. And it's like they're just trying to push these things, put them in your path so you
Yeah.
notice them and you work with them to get the solution to your issue.
I love it. I love it. I mean, if I were you and I had your knowledge, I think I'd just be like walking, floating through life and just like very happy about everything that's happening and just taking it all
Well, it doesn't, no,
in.
because I mean, I will say that I look at when something horrible goes on, like Sandy Hook
Mm. Yeah.
or whatever, it's like it's it's like, all right, something this horrible doesn't happen for no reason.
Right. Right.
Yes, it happened for very practical reasons. A bad person with a gun got it,
Mhm.
all of that.
Yeah.
But why do these parents have to suffer?
Yeah.
And I try really hard to wrap my brain around it. In fact, I had a client who had lost her son at 10. I can't remember
Oh,
how he passed, but it was, horrible.
yeah.
And we worked together for a few sessions, and
Mm.
I got such a powerful vision of him on the other, because we all have jobs on the other side. We don't just sit around,
It's good to
twiddling
know.
our.
Well, maybe it depends on the job, but yeah.
Yeah, but I got such a vision. And when I say I don't like my eyes don't roll back in my head, but it was dropped into my head and I knew it was so weird. It's not like the thing I would normally think. And so I just
Mhm.
told her, I said, your son is like a camp counselor over there with all these little kids, like
Oh,
Sandy Hook kids or any of the ones that
yeah.
died before their time. And he's loving it because he's working with these children and they love him.
Yeah.
And it gave her such a sense of peace that they weren't just nowhere. They were doing things. They
Yeah.
continued to live on.
God, that just gave me like a lump in my
Yeah,
throat. Wow,
me
that's
too.
wonderful.
And, I often think about there's just it really sucks to have to accept it,
Yeah.
but I try to keep in the back of my head that there are practical things that need to be addressed on this plane, like say for gun control or mental
Mm.
health or whatever it is.
Of course.
But these things don't happen in a vacuum and that there is a bigger picture. It's just way above our pay grades. So
Yeah.
trying to balance my righteous fury with stupid stuff with, okay, don't let that eat you alive.
Yeah.
Focus on what you can control, what you can do to make a situation better. And that's kind of how I try to balance it. So no, I do not walk around like, oh, this is great, because that's me. You're just
Yeah.
psychotic. So
Yeah, you'd probably end up in a hospital at that point. But
I've met enough people in the new age space over the years that are just like, you are not talking to the aliens, honey. You need Thorazine right now. Seriously. And you try to be kind, but it's
yeah, of
like,
course.
yeah, I don't believe that at all. But
Yeah. Oh, I'm
whatever
sure
makes you say.
they're everywhere. You just have to
They
look for them.
are. They
Yeah.
are.
Um,
Anyway.
I've truly enjoyed this time. I mean, this has
Me
been
too.
so fascinating. I hope it wasn't a slog for you.
Are you kidding me? I love to talk and I love to talk about this stuff. And
Yeah,
again, my feeling is if it can shed some light on how people connect with their loved ones in whatever fashion it is, why
truly.
they do and what they can expect, my job is done. So,
Yeah. I mean, I guess that's probably how you would sum up your job is like connecting with loved ones. And
Mhm.
that's
Mhm.
beautiful. I mean, that's so noble just for you
it's
to be
it,
that conduit.
well, it's not everything. It's one part of life for people.
Mhm,
Kind of like with Reflekta, it's a tool.
mhm.
And my life is not taken up by it. I have other things. I have a day job and, a cat and I eat and,
Oh,
garden,
it's
all
all
of
that.
that.
Yeah.
But yeah, if that kind of information can be useful
Mhm.
for providing a little perspective or whatever,
Yeah.
that's a good thing. So
Well,
anyway,
you're making the world a better place, and I appreciate that.
well, good.
That's all we need are more people like you to help make
Oh,
the world.
well, yeah, but I believe me, I have my snark
Well,
meter
even
set.
if you're giving the finger to people on the New Jersey Turnpike,
Yeah,
it's
yeah, can be. And I always have to when I do a reading, I usually have to just warn my clients, I have a potty mouth and I will curse. And I said, just tell me if this is a problem. I said, I just am trying to give it off as I get it.
yeah,
And if I feel a certain way, I may drop a few F-bombs and they're like, oh no, that's fine. But trying to keep it real.
yeah. Don't whitewash the language just
Yeah.
for
So
clarity.
anyway, well, I hope that information is useful for
Absolutely,
Reflekta
it's
and
perfect. Yeah,
anybody else. And so,
that's great.